This is David from SitePlex. This is a short guide on how to use the Form Builder. To use Form Builder, first of all, you need to be logged in as an admin level user. You will then see Form Builder on the left-hand side in the menu. Click here. Form Builder is split onto two sides. On the left is the information about your form, which you can first fill in. On the right is how you will actually see your form laid out. So we'll start by inputting our details for this form. Now you decide which category you want your form to appear in SitePlex. In this case, I'm going to make it a form that would appear in the categories of dailies. Here we decide if we want our form to appear as a register, which will be a table when we look on the WebOS version. We can also decide at this point if we require approval for our form once it is submitted. If you select that, you then get the option of what standard of user would do the approvals. In this case, I'm going to say it's the operations manager. I have a choice then of whichever users I have nominated in the role of operations manager. In this case, I'm selecting Tom. I also, once Tom has approved this form, want to notify others, so I'll select that. I then can choose from all my users for them to be notified. I'm going to add another once the approval has been given. Once I've entered that information, I will start to build my form by adding the first section, which I will give a title. And then once I've created that section, I can start to edit it by adding various questions or instructions. These we call elements. So in my first section, I'm going to add my first element. This consists of the question or instruction I want to give, and then choosing the sort of response I want. These can be from short text, a paragraph of text, a number, a simple yes-no switch, a yes, no, or non-applicable reply, a checklist, which would allow multiple responses, radio buttons, which allow a single response from multiple potential answers, a drop-down selection, which is just another way of presenting a radio list, so you can choose one from a selection of possible answers, a date format, a time format, a combined date and time format, or we can ask for a signature from the person filling in the form or multiple signatures. We can also choose to select from anyone who's currently signed in on SitePlex. We can also allow the form filler to add an image. Note and instruction are just guidance text which you can put throughout your form to instruct on the next question or provide some guidance as is needed. I'm going to start by typing in the question I want to ask. The placeholder text box allows me to write further instructions for the person who's filling in the form to see, to guide them on what we're expecting to see in the box. I'm now going to choose my response element to be a single line of text. And I want this to be added to the table, so I'm going to click Add to Register, and this is a required response, so I've got that ticked as well. I click Add, and the question is there. If you want to go back and view it or edit it, I just click on that title. Now I'm going to add a second question. As the form filler may have a number of certifications they want to indicate, I'm going to use a checklist. I'll now put in all the options that they could possibly select in this box. I've separated by a comma. If I'm unhappy about the orders in which I've put these questions, I can simply grab this bar at the end and move it to place that one at the top. I didn't really want to do that, so I'm going to put the question about the name at the top again. If I want to reduce that, but it's expanded at the moment, if I click it, it'll now reduce to there. Once I've done those two questions, I may want to add a second section of questions that are unrelated to the first, which I'll do. Again, if I want to add questions to this section, I click Edit. I can change the name at this point if I wanted to, or just simply add an element. In this section, I'm interested to know if the respondent has a vehicle and if they have a current driving license. And I'm going to make the answer simply a yes/no answer and add that response to my table. My next question is to ask if they have a vehicle. I'm going to make this a yes/no answer and add it to my register. Now I'm going to add a final section for the respondent to sign and authorise the form they've completed. I'm going to edit this section, and in this area I want to add their signature. I want this added to my register, and in this case I do not need multiple people to sign this form, so I'll leave that unchecked. The other aspect I can add to a form is form logic, which you will see here on the other tab. Form logic allows you to hide or reveal questions or disable questions depending on earlier responses in the form. In this case, I only want to show access to a vehicle question if they have said they do have a driving license. So I'm going to now add that logic. So first of all, the first question I want to relate this to is the driving license question. And if the answer to that is yes, then I want to show the element, which is, do you have access to a vehicle? And add. Now you'll notice my logic rule has come up there. It's a show rule, and it is related to the question, do you have access to a vehicle? If I'm unhappy with that, I can delete it, or I can go back and edit it. I can add as many form logic rules as I wish in this section. I'm now happy with my form. I'm going to save it to draft because I may wish to return to the form and make some changes later. Okay, and you can now see there is our test form and it's version 1 that we've saved. I'm now happy with my form, so I'm going to publish it. To find my form now I've published it, if I go back to Forms and View Forms, then I search by most recently updated or created, I will see my form at the top of the list. It gives me the details of when I created it. It shows that it's active and published. If I want to change that, I can hit the cross to unpublish it, or if I want to change it, update it, I just click the arrow, the pencil mark, and then I can make my changes to it and create a new version. When we save our forms, we save them into categories. Again, click on categories here, and you can see my existing categories. These categories are all form type categories. We can also have categories for our documents. I'm going to add another category. I can either make it a document category or a form category, which will decide where it displays on the app. I'm going to make this a form category, and I also want to give it an image for its category section when we look at it on the iPhone or iPad, so it's easier to navigate. The icon I want is in my Documents folder. It's now shown that I have the correct file attached. And note here that the files you need to use for any icons in your categories are either JPEG or a PNG, and it should be a square image, approximately 512 by 512 pixels, and no larger than 2 megabytes. We can now see it's been added, and there's my icon. Again, if I wanted to edit it or remove it, there I just click the buttons there.